Welcome back to the Talk Shop Podcast. Today is a unique situation. We have a co-host, David Avgi, my cousin, the one and only, principal at Avenues, one of the biggest residential brokers in Brooklyn, New York, and all of New York City.
We're getting there.
Today we are going to be podcasting throughout the day at the New York City Real Estate Expo, and luckily we have a fantastic guest with us right now to kick off, James Nelson, principal at Avison Young.
Thank you.
Good to have you.
Great to see you, David. So much fun. It's wonderful to see what you all have been doing for the industry, getting the word out there. Although, here we are at Citi Field. At this table, I feel like I should be signing a $300 million contract to play for the Mets or something. What do you think? You think I still have a shot?
I think that's coming up next.
I don't know about playing for the Mets. I want a deal.
All right,
Give me a good $300 million deal.
All right, good. Let's dive in.
You know what? Let's kick off, talk about your book, because you opened up and handed us over a signed copy of your book. It's really nice.
And Wall Street's bestseller.
Yes, Wall Street Journal bestseller list.
So
yes.
Fill us in. The Insider's Edge to Real Estate Investing. Mm-hmm. What is this book?
This book tells you everything you need to know to get into the business. For those of you out there who haven't made your first investment yet, I want you to be able to read this book and say, I understand this. I understand how it works. I understand how it starts. And this isn't just theory. This is actually practical insight that's going to tell you what you need to know to outperform the market.
Now, James, I have a question that's like itching me. I love asking this because there's always a story behind this. What's the biggest deal you ever had die, and how did it make you feel?
Oh man, biggest deal ever die. We got to start on the low. Break me down and then build me back
hard.
up. You know,
we're starting hard.
You know, there's actually a great lesson in this, in that there was a large pre-war elevated apartment building in the heart of Greenwich Village. I had my eye on this for years, and I had actually done work for the owner earlier. I had sold a smaller apartment building for him.
Okay.
And when it came to present on this $150 million opportunity, I kind of went in there just assuming the listing was mine. And that was a really bad assumption to make. I wasn't prepared. I didn't go in with my A game. And that, you know, as tough of it as it was to lose out on that opportunity, it taught me a very valuable lesson. You never, take things for granted. Your last deal, that's in the past. Every single time you got to show up with that A-game mentality.
100%.
And what happened with that deal? You went under contract? You just
No. Another broker got the assignment and sold it. So
really?
it was
Bob
very
Knackle?
painful. It wasn't Bob.
Okay.
If it was Bob, I would have been happy for him. Yes, that was back when we were partners at Massey Knackle.
Oh, I see.
That's right. Yeah, I started my career with Bob 25 years ago.
Wow.
So hard to believe. He gave me my first shot. I didn't even know real estate was a thing when I graduated from Colgate in 1998. All my friends had investment banker jobs, and so I said, all right, I thought maybe I'd go make movies and go out into the West Coast. I was $5,000 in credit card debt. I said, no one's paying me, to head out there. I need a real job. Went to Career Service Center, got, the job. 2 months later, they told me at Massey Knackle. 2 months later, they told me that only 2 people applied for the job, and I was their second choice. So we started with very low expectations, and fast forward 17 years later, I was a partner at the firm. We sold it to Cushman & Wakefield for $100 million, and had 3 great years there. And then 5 years ago, I got this opportunity to build out the investment sale platform here in New York for Avison Young.
Wow.
What
Wow,
a story.
fantastic. Yeah.
It just shows, right? Like, it doesn't matter where you are and where you're starting from. If you put in that constant work, consistency, but also have those learning lessons and opportunities, you can achieve whatever you want to achieve.
Well, it's interesting. When I started my career as a broker, I learned a lot of valuable skills, which have also made me a very good investor. And a lot of that has to do with specialization. And for those of you who are looking to get into the business, whether you're looking to invest, whether you're a broker, expertise, so important. Before I picked up a phone for the first time and started dialing for dollars, they said, time out. We need you to study this neighborhood. We need you to know every single thing about this area, every single trade, every sale, where rents, where zoning, right?
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. There's that saying, jack of all trades, master of none, right? And what I found out was after 3 months studying that area, even though there was brokers out there who had decades of experience on me, I could run circles around them. So again, if you all can take anything away from this, figure out what is your expertise, specialize, become the expert.
I love it. And for yourself personally, what was the best deal you ever bought? What's something that you love to do?
So I would say on the investment side, I was very lucky that one of my first investments ever has turned out to be one of my best. I wish I put a couple more zeros behind that investment. But, you know, when I was starting off as a broker, I had a friend who contacted me. I met him through NYU. He said, James, I've tied up this great opportunity in the Village. Can you flip the contract? Can you go find someone to buy this contract? Within 2 weeks, I found a couple buyers who were willing to pay $500,000 to $600,000 more for the deal.
How much was it? Tell us about the deal.
He was buying it for $1.9 million, $2 million.
What was it?
Right? It was a 4-story mixed-use building in the West Village, restaurant with apartments
West
above.
Village, it's prime.
And where this owner who was selling it off market thought, oh, this is just a headache, no one's paying me rent. My partner, Matt Blesso from Blesso Development, saw an opportunity to actually convert this to condos. So he told me, James, appreciate what you've done in the brokerage, but I'm not flipping this. I'm going to close on it. I said, well, Matt, seems like a pretty good deal. Can I invest with you? And so I went in with him. We ended up selling the condos above for $5 million. Now, obviously, it took money to convert the building, but we'd already gotten back 3 times on our investment. We held onto the restaurant, the retail condo. Years later, we sold that retail for $4.5 million. Remember, we bought the whole building for $2 million.
Right.
We 1031 exchanged that. We bought an apartment building in Brooklyn, which we still own today, and we sold the air rights from that to the next door neighbor. So it's the gift that just kept giving.
It's as they say, the first deal is always going to be sometimes the luckiest deal.
Yes.
And I love that concept, actually. Me and Alon, we're doing a lot of properties right now where we're building condos, and wherever we can squeeze out the retail area, we think that it's a smart opportunity instead of selling everything out to actually hold onto some of the properties as well.
Yeah.
Real estate in New York, you kind of have to have a private equity mind.
Yes.
What you just explained to us, you condoed out the first floor, condoed the rest, sold those out,
Sold their
1031
rights.
later,
Right.
which is a tax-deferred exchange,
Yes.
right? And then you bought another building in Brooklyn, but sold the air rights above it. Like, that's so much creativity in a real estate deal.
And
right?
it's a lot of what I talk about in my book. The reason why I like real estate as an investment over the stock market is when you buy a stock, everybody has the same information. In fact, I just had a trader on my podcast turn real estate investor, and he said, look, I always felt like when I made a trade, the only way you made money was to be smarter than the other person on the trade. Real estate, even as efficient as it is today and the information that's available, there's still so many opportunities out there. It still blows my mind that owners sell their properties off market. When I speak to audiences with a lot of residential brokers, and maybe some of you are out there now, I ask, how many of your sales are FSBOs, for sale by owner? And it's usually only like 2 or 3%. In commercial, as many of a third of the sales that take place are without a broker, okay?
Wow.
Now, I know you guys buy and invest a lot in off-market. I don't want you all to hear say, oh, James, any off-market deal is a good deal. Not necessarily,
Correct.
but look, let's look at the odds. If you go and buy a fully marketed deal that the whole world knows about and you're competing with a lot more people as opposed to something that you found that's not being marketed, the odds are in your favor that you're going to get a better opportunity. So that's what this book is about, is finding those inefficiencies in the market and learning how to outperform the market.
I love it. It's actually genius if you think about it. And I think like this. I spoke with a lot of investors and developers that I work with also inside the brokerage, and they said, listen, I'm not a smart person, but real estate made me look smart. Because long term, just like you said, when it comes to investing in real estate, even your worst deal becomes a good deal in the future. It appreciates, it's tangible, you can run it, and you're not really competing against anyone else.
David always tells everyone my cousin is a genius about me.
Yes.
And I tell everyone I'm not that smart. But I bought $100 million of real estate in the last 6 years, and I haven't sold any of it.
Okay.
So I look really smart, right? On paper, I look smart. In real life, I look smart on every angle. But in the end of the day, that strategy was just buy, hold assets, and incrementally raise rents over time. With time, you win.
No question, and you have to have that long-term mindset. And look, I've certainly made investments where you're going to go out, you're going to spec something, you're going to condo, you're going to go look for that 2-3 times return on your equity, but that is high risk, high reward. I mean, the benefit of real estate is long-term ownership, cash flow, and so I would agree with you that that long-term mindset will typically prevail as long as you don't over-lever. And that's what we're seeing right now, and a couple of these banks going under, and it's getting a little more challenging to finance. You have to make sure you don't put yourself in a position where you took on floating rate debt, you don't have the ability to pay it off. So one thing we're advising now, if you're out looking for opportunities, is ask owners if they will do seller financing. I've been doing this 25 years, and just when I got into this, seller financing was just kind of fading out because there was so much debt out there and was so cheap. We might be going back to that.
So seller financing subject to, it's becoming a big subject. You're leading into the next question. Where do you see the market going, and how should people prepare?
So we all get asked this question all the time, how's the market? It is so important to be specific. You can't paint the market with one brush, okay? So where are we talking geography? What are we talking about asset class?
And your specialty is New York City.
I do New York City, so all asset classes. So if we're talking about Class B and C office buildings, it's pretty rough out there right now. And yes, I would love to say we can convert all of this to residential. Easier said than done, okay? Right. But meanwhile, retail is having a tremendous resurgence. I'm sure you all are seeing it. You're out there walking on the streets. You're seeing these stores are filling back up. I believe the pedestrian counts in Times Square are now greater than they were pre-COVID. And so, look, again, not all retail necessarily is good. You need to become the expert. Know, what are the areas, where are the rents, where's the upside.
James is going to clip this up and send it to his sellers. Like, I told you retail is the move.
Right.
100%. And by the way, James is 100% correct. When it comes to actual apartments available, we're down to less than 1% of vacancies right now in the market, which is insane. It's unheard of. Usually we're cruising around the 2%.
And now, before we wrap this up, James, I want some more credibility for you, for the listeners. People like numbers. How much did you sell in 2022?
2022 was just over $600 million, over 50 transactions. So, for us, our average deal size is really more upper middle market. We love that $10 to $100 million space. But look, I'll tell you all that last year was all about the first half of the year. So if any of you are doing commercial, you're probably feeling the same thing. Look, once rates started going up last June, what does that create? Not only, downward pressure on pricing, but more importantly, uncertainty. And I think that has been the biggest thing that is challenging us today, is you have sellers on the sidelines saying, look, I'm not going to sell into this. And buyers are saying, hey, I'm going to wait another 6 months or a year because there's going to be distress, there's going to be more buying opportunities. Well, look, you might be right, but guess what happens when everybody else gets off the sidelines at the same time as you do? I am telling you right now, there are opportunities out there, and as I talk about in my book, seller's motivation. Remember that. Why is the seller selling? Okay, don't buy something from someone right now who says, hey, if I can get this big price, I'll sell. Estate sales, partnership disputes, financial distress. These are going to be opportunities. There's a lot less competition out there, and I think if you buy it right with the right debt, you're going to be really happy that you did.
Awesome.
100%.
Well said. James, thanks so much for coming on the show. This was
get
fantastic.
the book, guys.
Yeah,
get the book.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, James.